Good afternoon once more, and let us get this afternoon's proceeding underway. Honorable Francis Fonseca, Minister of Education, Culture, Science and Technology, Mrs. Alison Parker, the Belize representative for UNICEF, Mrs. Diane Mejia, Chief Executive Officer in the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science and Technology, Ms. Leslie Udwin, Founder and President of Think Equal, other ministry representatives and invited guests, other representatives from the NGOs, teachers, principals, students, members of the media, and all other invited guests, good afternoon. I greet you with warmth this afternoon as we gather here today to launch the Think Equal program in Belize under the theme Reimagining Education in Belize through social-emotional learning in the early grades. My name is Rudolph Neal, and I'll be your Master of Ceremonies for this afternoon. Kindly stand and put your hand to attention as we welcome Miss Maria Cal, a recent graduate of Paloti, who will be doing the national anthem and will be signed by Miss Jenny Muschamp.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
O land of the free by the Carib Sea, our manhood we pledge to thy liberty. No tyrants here linger, despots must flee this tranquil haven of democracy. The blood of our sires which hallows the sod brought freedom from slavery, oppression's rod. By the might of truth and the grace of God, no longer shall we be hewers of wood. Arise, ye sons of the Payment's clan, put on your armor, clear the land, drive back the tyrants, let despots flee. Land of the free by the Carib Sea. Nature has blessed thee with wealth untold, o'er mountains and valleys where prairies roll. Our fathers, the Baymen, valiant and bold, drove back the invaders this heritage holds. From proud Rionda to Wolsarstoon, through Coral Isle over Blue Lagoon. Keep watch with the angels, the stars and moon, for freedom comes tomorrow's noon. Arise, ye sons of the Payment's clan, put on your armor, clear the land, drive back the tyrants, let despots flee. Land of the free by the Carib Sea.
Beautiful.
Thank you to Miss Maria Cal for that beautiful rendition of our Belizean national anthem, and also to Miss Janine Mushjam for signing. Kindly remain standing as we now welcome Kalim Domingo, a 7-year-old student from Holy Redeemer, as he brings us the prayer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say the opening prayer. Kindly bow your heads. Dear God, on this special day, we come together to start the Think Equal program. Thank you for making this day happen and for being with us. Please watch over all the teachers and students who will be learning in the program. Help the teachers to teach with kindness and love. Help the students to learn with open hearts. We want to learn about feelings and how to be good friends. Please help us understand and be patient as we learn these important things. Guide us to be like a big family, where everyone is cared for and valued, just like you love each of us. Help us love and respect one another as we begin this journey of learning and growing. Be with us every step of the way. May this program make the world happier and more equal, just like you want it to be. Thank you for listening to our prayers. We're excited to learn and make you proud. Amen.
Amen.
Let's give him a bigger round of applause. I think he really did a good job. Please be seated. Thank you. Today is an important day, not only for UNICEF and Think Equal and for the Ministry of Education, but for all the students in Belize as we launch the Think Equal program. The Think Equal is a global education charity that is rooted in mental health and social justice as both a movement and a program to sustainably and holistically restore mental health post-pandemic and eliminate violence and discrimination from our world. Let us put our hands together as we welcome Mrs. Diane Mejia, the Chief Executive Officer, Mrs. Mejia, to bring us the opening remarks. Let's give her a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Minister. Thanks for joining us. My friends, Alison and Leslie, our Chief Education Officer and our Deputy Chief, all our friends from the ministry, our friends from the community, our students, everyone, thank you for being here. My job this afternoon is tricky. I was set up because the people who will speak to you this afternoon are brilliant people, and they're going to have amazing things to say, and I have to find something to say that's not going to steal their thunder and make you bored later on when they talk. So my job is to set the stage for them. It's not to tell their stories. But when I was trying to figure out, what do I say? I thought, well, it's for Think Equal. So it's for early childhood. I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
So you may remember this one. It's not your typical story. All I ever needed to know I learned in kindergarten. Remember that one? By Robert Fulghum. Most of what I really need to know about how to live and what to do and how to be, I learned in kindergarten. Wisdom was not at the top of the graduate school mountain, but there in the sandbox at nursery school. These are the things I learned. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Wash your hands before you eat. Flush. Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. Live a balanced life. Learn some and think some and draw some and paint and sing and dance and play and work every day. Take a nap every afternoon. Don't tell Minister. When you go out in the world, watch for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. Be aware of wonder. Remember the little seed in the plastic cup? The roots go down and the plants go up, and nobody really knows how or why. We are like that. And then remember that book about Dick and Jane, and the first word you learned, the biggest word of all? Look. Everything you need to know is there somewhere. The golden rule and love and basic sanitation, ecology and politics, and the sane living. Think of what a better world it would be if we all, the whole world, had cookies and milk at about 3 o'clock every day, and then lay down with our blankets for a nap. Or if we had a basic policy in our nation and other nations to always put things back where we found them and to clean up our own messes. And it's still true, no matter how old you are, when you go out into the world, it's best to hold hands and stick together. So this afternoon, I'm not just going to welcome you. I also want to give credit to these life lessons, because that's part of why we're here. You see, just like how, when you start school, you don't know anybody. About 2 years ago, we didn't all know one another. We found ourselves, though, in the same place. We had new classmates. Me and the chief, Ms. Denise, and Ms. Alison. We were in the same class. And it turns out Ms. Denise was very persistent. And she kept saying, we have to get a new friend. There's somebody we have to meet. And her name is Leslie. And she made sure that we met Leslie. And it turns out that we had several things in common. And one of the biggest things that we had in common was a shared interest in education, especially early childhood education. And Leslie had so much to share with us. Her own work on Think Equal, that was new and it was different, and it fits so well with so many of our own philosophies and goals. So, like you do when you make new friends, we talked a little bit, we shared some, we thought, we went back, we talked again, and we got support from other friends, from our bosses, from other people on our teams. And we decided that it would be really important for us to work together. So we did exactly what we learned to do in kindergarten. We decided we're going to go out into the world together, holding hands and sticking together. And that's what's brought us here. We've been holding hands even from far, and we've been sticking together, and it's an absolute pleasure today to be able to see this come to fruition. I'm so grateful Leslie's here, and it's her birthday. Yeah? So happy birthday to Leslie.
Thank you.
And welcome to all of you. Thanks for being here, and hopefully, we're all going to be able to move forward together with this project for the cause that is absolutely critically important to the work of the nation, and that is the work of teaching our youngest students. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief Executive Officer, Mrs. Diane Mejia. And thank you for that very important reminder that when we go out in the world, we must hold hands and stick together. Right, at this time, I ask you to give a warm welcome to Mrs. Alison Parker, the Belize representative of UNICEF, to bring us some remarks.
Fonseca, CEO, then my friend. Leslie, you are just a bundle of energy and vision and motivation. To the Chief Education Officer and the Deputy Chief Education Officer. You know, we are doing the kindergarten thing now. To CEO Liu from MHD, thank you for being here. Members of the government, other government line ministries, CEOs, and to the children. You know, when Diane was doing the opening remarks, it made me remember a conversation we were having with some colleagues last week. And I asked, why is it so easy to remember a nursery rhyme, but you don't always remember your maths formula that you learned maybe last month? It's so easy to begin to sing a lullaby. It's so easy if the instrumentalists are playing a nursery rhyme. I don't know how, but you remember the words. How did that happen? And it shows how critical those formative years are, because they are the ones that stick with you to the very end. The songs our grandmothers sang to us were songs they learned at kindergarten. They may forget everything in between, but they never forgot the beginning. And that is why it's a pleasure for us as UNICEF, as we support the Ministry of Education in the journey of learning across the life cycle, that going back to the basics, making sure the youngest of our citizens are well equipped to become productive and good citizens going forward are fundamental. So I am pleased to join in relishing this partnership between the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science and Technology, Think Equal and UNICEF. I want to use this opportunity to really thank the ministry. They have been a fundamental partner and they do deserve the credit. Just over the last 6 months of this year, we signed the Memorandum of Understanding with Think Equal with the ministry. We launched the GIGA Connectivity Initiative with MIT and UNICEF with the ministry. And we also, for the first time, became one of the few countries in the Latin American Caribbean region that was welcomed into the Global Partnership for Education just within the first 6 months of the year. I think they need a round of applause. As Diana said, it has not been an easy journey. It has been many phone calls, meetings, text messages, WhatsApp, and conversations, but we have found a true champion for education and for the rights of children in Belize. Why is today so significant? Just next month, all the countries that signed up to the Sustainable Development Goals will be convening in New York with the Secretary General to do the midterm review, 8 years counting, of the SDGs that all the governments are signed to. Belize was one of those countries that contributed and gave important milestones that we would achieve as a nation together. And I believe the Prime Minister should be attending that meeting in order to convene where we are as Belize. SDG 4 is a fundamental part of that reporting, ensuring the children have access to quality education at all levels, ensuring retention of children at all levels, and ensuring that children can complete education right up to tertiary and transition into productive employment. And so the journey is not an easy one. The road ahead could be Herculean, but I believe that partnership as we sit around this table today is going to be fundamental to bring that together. The Think Equal program complements the curriculum reform that is already ongoing. It represents an intensified focus on social and emotional learning support to preschool children. Every child in Belize that will have access to this curriculum will learn about mental wellness and healthy ways of managing their emotions and daily interactions and relationships, a thing that I think is really critical in the world and society as we find it today. The 7 goals outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding establishes a robust framework to implement the Think Equal program nationally and advance social and emotional learning for Belizean children between the ages of 5 to 7 years old. When the 7-year-old boy was standing there and praying, I thought, why do we the adults need to come up and speak? The prayer said it all. We need the teachers who will be loving and kind. And we do need the students who will have an open heart and will be ready to learn, adjust, and break some of the social norms of violence, disrespect, ingratitude, and so many other vices that we can list going on. We believe that children naturally have a sunny and positive disposition. They believe anything can happen. I remember the story of a nephew of mine. When I was traveling to another country, he didn't even realize it was a conflict country. And he said, "Auntie, when you're coming back, I need a plane." How I was going to get that plane was not his problem. Whether there was a shop where I was going was not his problem. The only thing he was confident about is that this person has my back. And if I ask her, she's going to deliver. Of course, you can see me now. I went to the meeting, and you know most of our meetings, they start when we land and they end when we are going back to the airport. I am now at the airport running around to make sure I can deliver this, because I know the minute I get off the plane, what is it going to ask me? "Auntie, where's my plane?" That's how sweet, that's how open, that's how accepting, that's how trusting these young minds are. And we as adults have a responsibility to keep them that way. And that's why the program We Think Equal is so fundamental. Some may therefore want to ask why there's a need for an emphasis on social and emotional learning. Unfortunately, we can see it glaringly even in our society here in Belize. Today, we know that parts of the south side of our country are under a state of emergency. Why? Because of the values that young boy was praying about just a few minutes ago. And so we have an obligation to make sure that the next generation of Belizean citizens do not go down that road anymore. The cycle of violence must be broken. In the words of our esteemed guest from Think Equal, how can it be deemed compulsory for a child to learn mathematics, but it is optional that this child learns how to value another human being and how to manage healthy relationships? Each and every one of these aspects must be compulsory. I can teach you maths, but it's very difficult to teach you behavior after a particular age. The Think Equal curriculum taps into the use of play to impact these critical skills. Through play, exercises, and storytelling, preschool children will learn how to better express the feelings, get along with each other, learn life skills, how to win, how to lose. You will not win all the time. How to accept no when it is just a no. And how to move on and move on to greater opportunities. I take this opportunity to acknowledge the vision within the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology for recognizing the importance of this partnership and for prioritizing early childhood development, for which Belize is a trailblazer in the Caribbean and in the Latin America region. We also acknowledge the great work of the Early Childhood Development Committee and the members of the working group for your excellent work over the years. These are important building blocks that we will hopefully reap the benefit of and sit down and at rocking chairs one day, and when we see these kids standing up and Belize being part of those important nations, we will say we were part of that journey. While we celebrate today's milestone, we must keep the momentum going. And therefore, UNICEF wants to use this opportunity to call for 3 key areas. 1, we already have the political will of the government, and we hope that this will continue. 2, we want to call on the private sector to please join this journey with us, because the skills and the labor that you're looking for within your industries are starting at this level. So I do invite, I'm not sure any of them are here, but I really want to throw out a call to the private sector to join the journey in quality education in Belize. I also want to call on the parents. It's not an easy task, but we have an obligation. These lives have been entrusted to us, that we nourish them, we keep them safe, we protect them, we give them the values that will hold them together and keep them sticking together, as Mr. Hearn mentioned. I therefore want to use this opportunity to congratulate each and every one of those who've played an important part. I know the team has been in the field. They've covered 4 of the 6 districts, and tomorrow they're going to be, I believe we're going to be down in Eastern Creek, and on Friday they're going to be in PG. And hopefully I should be joining you somewhere down the south side, because we believe that every child in Belize needs to have the opportunity to develop and fulfill their full potential. Let me use this opportunity as well to wish Belize at 42 the very best for the future. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Alison Parker, the UNICEF representative in Belize, and thank you for sharing and expounding on the importance of partnership and highlighting UNICEF's commitment to continue to work with the Ministry of Education in Belize for the greater development of education in Belize so that all students can have an equal opportunity to grow and thrive. At this time, we can sit back and relax and enjoy a violin medley by James, Andrew, and David Farber. Let's give them a big round of applause as they set up and get ready to perform for us. What an amazing performance. Let's give them a bigger round of applause. James, Andrew, and David Farber, all brothers playing the violin. At this time, we welcome Miss Leslie Udwin, the founder and president of Think Equal, to come and give us some remarks. Let's give her a round of applause.
Honorable and wonderful Minister Fonseca and distinguished guests, It's an absolute honor, a privilege, and above all, it's a joy. It's a real joy for me to be here celebrating our hand-holding, as Diane so eloquently put it, and our profound and incredibly committed partnership in rolling out this early years education program, which is transformative and so utterly critically foundational and important. And the commitment of this education ministry and UNICEF fortifying and partnering with us to bring this into the national curriculum of the country is the ultimate sign and proof of how seriously they take their duty of care to every Belizean child. As Alison mentioned, we've been meeting over the course of this week with the wonderful, enthusiastic, engaged early years teachers, the Infant 1 and Infant 2 teachers, and all of them in 4 districts thus far. And it's been wonderful. Me so happy for Dea. And we've been mashing it up this week. And as already also mentioned, today is my birthday. And I can seriously think of no greater gift in the whole world than being here with you in Belize, celebrating this extraordinary mission that we share. To leave no Belizean child behind, and to ensure that every single child in Belize will have what is the right, the birthright of every child: positive life outcomes, the nurturing, the tools, the ability to grow up as oaks, dignified, respecting the dignity of all others. This is what is going to lead to a Belize in which inclusion, equality, safety, freedom, the freedom you sing of in your national anthem, really comes into fruition. And you're going to see within 10 years the difference in this country because of the commitment of your enlightened, visionary education minister and his team. I want to say a few words about the DNA of Think Equal. And it's a difficult subject. I need to make a trigger warning in advance of telling you this story. It was born in prison cells in Delhi, in India, as I, a former filmmaker, who at that time, 8 years ago, had nothing to do with education, was making a film about a brutal, horrific gang rape of a young medical student in Delhi. Do you remember the case? It was so brutal. And I decided that there was really no point in making this film if all I was going to do was make yet another campaigning film that yet again spread awareness about what we already know ad infinitum with relentless, ubiquitous regularity: gender-based violence in our world, all forms of violence in our world, and discrimination. And I thought the only way I'm going to stay here, not pack my bags and go home, is if I manage to get permission from the Director General of this high-security Tihar jail to interview those men from that bus who did that unspeakable violence to this young girl who died 7 days later. And I got that permission. and I sat in those prison cells for 31 hours over several weeks with the perpetrators of this violence. And let me tell you what the biggest shock of this whole journey for me was. The animals, the psychopaths I was expecting were absent. Not one of them was those. These were ordinary men who had been taught to think a certain way, that different regulations applied to girls. They were programmed with a belief system that led them to act in the way they did. And what this brought home to me was the fact that the violence in our world, the abuse in our world, that's not the disease. That's the symptom of the disease. The disease is the discriminatory mindset that accords lesser or no value to another human being, on whatever basis that is. Religion, race, gender, caste, economic background. And again, as I went through this unbelievably dark journey, but the most luminous journey of my entire life, because it led me seamlessly, directly to the Think Equal program and the understanding of what we can do to turn this tide around. Like a wave on a shore, kept coming into my brain the refrain of Nelson Mandela, one of the wisest human beings that ever walked the earth, who said, "Education is the most powerful weapon we have to change the world." But I had a problem, because I knew that the rapists and murderers that I'd been sitting and interviewing had very little education. They had left at the age of 12, 13, no secondary education to speak of. But I also had interviewed their lawyers. And I have to tell you that their lawyers, with the highest degree of education it's possible to get, made the rapists sound like angels in many respects. How can that be? So what kind of education is it that is the most powerful weapon we have to change the world? Numeracy and literacy are critical. Of course they are important, but there is a missing third dimension to education. And that is the wisdom, the enlightenment, and the vision of this education ministry and of UNICEF always. So what I had to do, and this will deal with the backstory of what is Think Equal's origin and DNA, I had to discover what was the definition of education for Mandela. Because a mind as great as that doesn't just use this word lightly. He will have defined it in the body of his work. And I came across it very quickly because it's one of his most famous utterances. Mandela said this: "No child is born hating another human being on the basis of the color of his skin, his religion, his gender, any other factor. A child has to be taught to hate. And if he can be taught to hate, he can be taught to love." That is when the fireworks went off for me. I dropped filmmaking as a career, and I decided from now on, I'm an activist for education in the early years, because that is the time when we can lay the foundations. Neuroscience is very, very clear. Up to the age of 7. Now, that doesn't mean no one can change after 7. Of course it doesn't. But it does mean that after 7, you better draft in several thousands of dollars per child, an army of psychotherapists, and spend a few years doing therapy to unlearn what they've learned and relearn. But you can put in the foundation so incredibly easily and simply And that is what we're doing together for every single child. We are going to create, co-create, in a partnership of learning with our children, pro-social brains during the brain-building window of modifiability of our children's development. We're going to lay with them experientially, actively, pro-social neuro pathways that are going to last their whole life long. And there are 60 plus years of evidence, and Think Equal itself has had 3 randomized control tests, which are the gold standard of evaluation in 3 very disparate countries, Colombia, Botswana, and Australia. And the results were incredibly powerful and absolutely the same. Reduction of anger and aggression, reduction of anxiety, reduction of withdrawal, of emotional dysregulation, increase of emotion regulation, increase of emotional literacy, well-being, empathy, etc. So having created last year, in 2022, a brilliant competency-based curriculum, which is what all the leaders in education in the world are looking at, they didn't just sit on their laurels and decide, you know what, now we've got the curriculum framework, that's enough, let that do and carry the work. No, they are much wiser and much more committed than that, because they acknowledge and understand that theory without operational, actionable practice is only half the story. So now they have arranged and committed to putting in the hands of the teachers at the coalface in the classroom what those teachers need, the tools, the lesson plans, the narrative picture books, the resources, everything they need to mediate this incredibly important social and emotional learning for well-being, for psychosocial support, and for social justice. Do you know that Belize is leading the world in this? Not just the Caribbean region, not just the Latin American region, the world. There are only 3 countries in the whole world, 1 in each continent of Africa, Europe, and what continent are we in? What? We're in North America. Okay. And now North America, gosh, okay. Only 3 countries in the world who are this extraordinary that they are saying, and Alison expressed it already, you know, it's not enough to make numeracy and literacy compulsory and have it as optional to learn how to value another human being or value yourself or lead healthy relationships. Of course that can't be optional, you know. So finally, we are focused on prevention, not just being reactive to the fallout. We are focused on repurposing as well as reimagining the education system. We're walking the walk, not merely paying lip service. As is enshrined in Article 29 of the Convention of the Rights of the Child, education should be directed to the whole personality of the child. That is what we are now doing. As Gandhi said, if you want to achieve real peace in this world, you'd better start with the children. We are starting with our youngest children. We salute you, Belize, land of the free by the Carib Sea. Belize is the best country. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your stirring remarks. And as Maria Montessori once said, early childhood education is the key to the betterment of the society. And as you so aptly put it, that we cannot negate the importance of early childhood education, ensuring that we are educating the whole child and not just catering to numeracy and literacy. Let's give her another round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, it gives me great honor to welcome my colleague, Ms. Kimberly Husner, a teacher at Wesley Lower School and a participant in the Think Equal program, who is going to share her teacher reflection. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Hi, everybody. True to teacher fashion, we walk with, the Barney bags. You see Mary Poppins, she go on, Barney go on, well, I wrote several speeches and decided not to follow any of them. So the first thing I'm going to start with, about 30 years ago, I was a 31 years ago, sorry. I was a 5-year-old at the same school where I teach, Wesley Lower School, in Infant 1. And back then, we used to gather around and watch these shows. You watch Full House, you watch Family Matters, Roseanne, Gullah Island, whatever it is. My mom and dad loved to read, so they would read stories to us. You get Dr. Seuss, you get Shel Silverstein, Stein, I don't know how to say it. But yeah, we got all those books, right? And that helped to build my character over the years. And so you had these positive things, as much as we say, oh, you're not going to watch too much TV. Certain things that you watch, they brainwash you, but positively, right? It's the same way you watch certain commercials and you don't even realize it's telling you, you want a cold Coke. You understand? But it's the same thing that's happening to our children now. And it's even worse, because I know we're tired of hear COVID, but over the COVID lockdown, the children were not watching shows and things like that. Mommy and daddy were on their phone figuring out how to cope with staying inside, and the children were also on that platform, and they're watching TikTok, and they're watching people climb up on crates and fall down and hurt themselves. They're watching teenagers do unacceptable things, behaving unacceptably, right? And that's what they come to school with, learning. And then the way we teach and the different things over the years, certain things have phased out. The lucky dip phased out. What was it, on the beach, the kite. We're trying to bring them back a little bit, but we go through so many different books, and then these things phase out. And eventually it's left up to the teacher to find the stories that we're reading in the classroom for these children. And let me tell you, 9 out of the 10 times, we find good books. But then it's May, and it's hot, and Mother's Day done gone. We spent the weekend with our family. We forgot how to plan that Sunday, so you hurry do a quick lesson plan, you submit it, and Monday morning after Mother's Day, you're exhausted. And so Monday after you eat the Bible, Monday afternoon, in the afternoon, the children are tired, you are tired, and you're too exhausted to be teaching these things in a hot classroom. You might not even have planned something with sense because you had to submit that lesson plan 6 o'clock last night. This Think Equal program has given me back 1 hour out of my life every week that I don't need to plan for this subject. I love it. Even before we get into other details for why I love it, I don't have to write these plans. 2, the plans are well written, so I don't have to feel guilty about not writing these plans. You open it and you read it and you smell the expertise. It doesn't smell like you were enjoying Mother's Day and you hurry up and write it Sunday night to submit it before 6 o'clock. They are very good plans. I brought them to show you because I noticed nobody to show it, right? Into the Barney bag I go. All right, so thank you so much. This is the plan book. You think of a plan, and you think of all the crazy language that you have to put into a lesson plan, and it exhausts you. That's for the teachers that are present. This one doesn't have it. This is easy, step-by-step stuff. You're thinking, oh, the lesson plan might be missing this, and I have to go make up a jingle. The jingle is there. The tune is there. But I have to go find the pictures for it. No. The resource book has all the pictures, right? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see. See? Whatever you need, it's there. You can photocopy them. And then, the very first one, they're in Color. They're in color, right? So you don't have to go and pull up the projector and pull up the computer because it's not all the schools are located in the city with internet and all of that, right? We have rural schools. And you pull this up and you can talk to your children, right? About the different colors. And you're explaining your skin color, you're showing this thing, but it's in black and white because you couldn't afford to get it color printed. It is here, okay? Not everybody black and white. It's here. So this is all through. There is a whole mood meter in here, okay? And you're looking at it and you have no idea what it is. But the teachers get trained. So we understand how to use it and how to decode it and what the colors mean and where the children's feelings go. And they enjoy using it. And it's through the entire book. So you don't get trained to use it today in one lesson and then after that you never use it again. You keep using it over and over. You want to know what the best part of this resource, and not the best part, all of it's great. One of the great parts of this, when you think about them giving you, look, right? This is, you're from what country? Excuse me?
Many.
Many, okay, well, she's global, right? Then we have global UNICEF, and we have the Ministry of Education, and you think, God, that's so expensive, right? But let me show you the most expensive thing that you will need to purchase or beg somebody for you from out of these lesson plans. This might be the most expensive one, a mallet, right? A tenderizer. You don't have one, get a book, get a stone, get a stick. You can use something else. String. You need a lot of string. Put it on the book list next year so the students can bring some string, right? But most classrooms have string and paint and crayon and Play-Doh and sticks. We used to have these in the classroom, but not that much anymore. You'll need a bell, right? So if you love a teacher, people listening to this, give your teacher a bell, right? She's going to need one. She doesn't really need one because phones have little timers, but how cool is it to have a bell, you know? Yeah. And the last thing, didn't break, a mirror, right? And most early childhood classrooms should have a mirror because you're teaching phonemes, right? So they look at themselves and pronounce the sounds. That's the most expensive thing in there, really and truly. And I sat down and flipped through all of it just to make sure I know the thought full. Because you might think, I need vinegar, and I need to go get this glass dish, and I need to go. No, it's all there. So if the resource book doesn't have it, chances are your house has it. And teachers we're already used to taking things from our house into the classroom anyway, right? Now, the books, right? Thank you so much. I didn't bring all of them, it's a lot of them. Okay? See? Two sides on this one. Cool books. And the first thing that catches your eye is the same thing that caught my students' eye when I brought these books into my classroom. Teacher, they're pretty, you are reading for we? I say, yes, Pops. Nice and calm up. My head is like, oh my God, yes, I'm ready to read it, right? Now we have to follow the plan. So you're not going to read all of them one lick. You go through this step before you get to the books. Unfortunately, the program launched April, May. So we got the books about May, then you got June exams. But I love the books, and my babies were going into infant too, and they'd never be exposed to them. So I broke the rules. I did a few of the lessons, but I tried to read as many of the books as possible during our little breaks so that they could be exposed to it. And this book, my special here, right? I had no idea, and this is me, that my children felt, my 5-year-olds, felt so strongly about their hair. The little boy, teacher, I hate when mama trim my hair. I wish she would let it grow. I said, really? Yeah. The little girls, teacher, I don't like when my mommy put in the extensions. I prefer when she put the buns up here and she lets the bottom out down here. I'm not lying to you. The following week, I had a handful of my students come with their favorite hairstyles in their hair. So you could imagine the conversation home when mommy wanted to do the hair like this, and they decided, I want my hair like this. One story, I didn't even teach the lesson, it was a discussion, and there was change. Those children started to like their hair, okay? The first story, myself, this one, This one is teaching them all about valuing how they look, their identity, their skin colors, right? And that is, a lot of us grow up and you're dark skin and they talk to you about your dark skin and we understand that. I'm light skin and I went through my own, set of like racist comments when you're smaller because I really had no place to fit. You're brown skin, you're light skin, so you're too light to be white, but you're not dark enough to be black. You understand? And so this book is for me too, to find a place in it where we're all of that one shade, right? We're all different shades of the one same brown, okay? And so these books make the children, makes the teacher feel like all of us are a part of one thing. There's this great activity with it too, with there's this classroom puzzle, so everybody draws their self on a piece of the puzzle and then they come together and it's a whole big classroom puzzle. We're all different, but we're all one same, okay? I did one, where is the little okapi? This, pardon me. I did this one, I think for UNICEF when they came. This is an okapi. I had no idea what this was. I knew the animal before, but I didn't really know about it until this story. It's so exciting to teach the children about things that are global, right? So we're not just limiting it to Belizean things, which they definitely need to know. But also if you're talking about a giraffe and the child doesn't know what a giraffe is, something wrong, they haven't been exposed, right? And so this was so exciting. And while we were doing the lesson, there's a thing, you get up and you have to do it like me and to show why you're so talented, what makes you special. And one of my little girls got up and she did the splits, boom, right there in front of the classroom. I was like, whoa, everybody was, whoa, she could do the splits. But that's not the end of it. Because now the following week, everybody is gathering around. They're all best friends now because they're showing off their talents. She's teaching everybody how to do the splits. And all of a sudden, she's very smart. She's a very smart girl. But her leadership skills were never up there. All of a sudden, bam, she's the leader. She has formed this little friendship with all of them, and she's showing them how to do things. They're going to her. They're asking her different questions. One story, one lesson, change has already started to happen. Imagine if we had started these from September. You understand? The reason I became a teacher, I see a lot of my previous lecturers in this classroom, and I remember several classes we had, they asked, why do you want to be a teacher? And a lot of people say, well, because I love children. But that's not so for me. Well, yeah, I love children. But that's not so for me, right? I used to say brainwashing, and it sounds bad, but that's what I wanted. There's nothing I dislike more than maybe you're in a line and somebody can cut in at a line, or you're to drive and people do stupidness in the traffic. And the only way you're going to change that is with the babies, because that's where they learn to queue up. That's where they learn to behave, to ask. That's where they learn politeness. It's too expensive to teach them that when they're 17 and 18 and they don't vex with the whole world. In English, they're already upset with everybody because you know something, they may chance me like that when I'm 5. You understand? And so they don't know how to cope with it. And they grow up and they take it out on everybody else. These books are amazing because for years we've been told, teach character values, teach character values. But sometimes, May afternoon, you're hot and you forget what character value you're doing. These books, make sure you're not forgetting. And they're so big, I forgot to say, over the years you get these wonderful Belizean books and they're by Belizean authors and we love them and we push them. But sometimes they're boring, right? Sometimes they're boring. Yes, I see mommy the shaky head. These books are not boring. Some of them rhyme. They're perfect. They are age appropriate. They catch me, they catch the kids. And so while I am reading it, little Johnny is not pulling Amani's hair. You understand? Because he likes the books too. And so there's that whole classroom management I don't have to worry about because the lessons are interesting. Now, I won't keep you much longer than to show you the cover, right? I notice it says think equal, but in the middle there's a weird little tiny I, and then the rest of it is all caps. I don't know if that was intentional, but I love it. And so the I stands out for me because I think equal. Do you?
I think Teacher Kim deserves a bigger round of applause. from the clear elucidation and the way how she expounded on the Think Equal program, from the lessons to the books and her energy. I'm sure you're thinking she's one hell of a good teacher, don't you? Yes, all right. At this time, let us put our hands together as we welcome the Minister of Education, Cultural Science and Technology, Honorable Francis Fonseca, to bring us the keynote remarks.
Yeah. You said it. No. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. You know, everyone has been introduced, but I do want to acknowledge, of course, our good friends, Leslie. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us in Belize. Everyone got to witness firsthand your passion and your energy. You know, you have a very good heart, and I saw that myself the very first time I met you. And I know how deeply committed you are to children across the world. So we're very happy to have you with us here in Belize today and this week. And we, of course, are happy that you're celebrating your birthday with us as well. So, and of course, our good friend, Alison, from UNICEF, our partner, you know, who works very, very closely with the Ministry of Education, very closely with the government of Belize, on so many important projects that are impacting the social and economic development of Belize. Of course, my colleagues, CEO, all my colleagues, Chief, Deputy, all my colleagues from the Ministry of Education, and all our distinguished friends and guests who are here with us today. You know, it's a difficult task indeed, Daniel, to follow four powerful, passionate women. So you heard from all of them. CEO first got into her classroom mode, delivering a story. She always tells fantastic stories that remain with you. And then, of course, we heard from Alison talking about UNICEF's commitment to the work that we're doing, commitment to Belize, commitment to the children of Belize. And then you heard from Leslie, and then we heard from teacher Hushner. You know, very passionate. We need a lot more teacher Hushners in our education system. So I'll do my very best to follow these wonderful women and try to be very brief in rounding off the discussion we're having today. You know, obviously it's my great honor and pleasure to join you this afternoon as we officially launch the Think Equal program here in Belize. You know, Think Equal is a comprehensive, holistic program designed to equip our preschool children or early childhood children or children at the early stages of their education, infant 1 and infant 2 in this case, with the foundation they need for positive lives. The focus on social and emotional learning is a natural complement to the national curriculum framework that we have launched, with its targeted efforts to teach values and psychosocial skills and competencies which will engender empathy, self-esteem, and respect for the dignity, value, and equality of others. As Leslie shared with you, Think Equal is being implemented in other countries, and this nationwide rollout in Belize, we believe, will be truly revolutionary and impactful for our youngest students. Think Equal is truly about reimagining education through social emotional learning in the early grades. Early childhood education, of course, is critically important for our Ministry of Education. It has been a passion of mine for more than 20 years. Those early, as others have said, it is in these early formative years, particularly through the ages of 3 to 7, that we have a real opportunity to shape and guide the value system that our students or children will carry with them throughout their lives. So, a part of this program, of course, as you heard from Teacher Hushner, is a perfect example, is training our teachers. And that's one of the components it's very, very important, of course. Equipping our teachers with the skills that they need to recognize and manage the social and emotional development of our youngest students. And so, for me, this entire Think Equal program is really about tackling, if you like, the root causes of social instability. The root causes, if you like, of crime, of violence, of poverty. If we are able to instill in our young students, in those early years, infant 1, infant 2, the right attitudes for life, respect, discipline, respect for others, humility, an appreciation of who they are and why they are valued members of our society. So this is critically important work that we together have to remain strongly and deeply committed to. You know, the National Curriculum Framework sets out 7 important competencies that we want to develop in our students. One, of course, is character development, a general appreciation of humanity. Very important. Emotional intelligence and effective communication skills. Critical and innovative thinking. Collaboration, working together, teamwork. How can we solve the challenges that we face working together? How can we put our minds and hearts together to make Belize a better place? A very important component number 5, multicultural appreciation. You know, one of the beautiful things about Belize is the great diversity of our people. Alison knows this. She's been here, she's traveled around Belize. You can move from district to district and see firsthand the many different beautiful cultures of Belize. And so we have to ensure that at that very early stage of their lives, that we are developing in our children, in our students, an appreciation for that diversity, that beautiful multicultural society that we have worked to develop. And we live in peace and harmony in Belize. That's one of the great things about Belize. We all live together. You know, We have our differences, but we all live together. We love each other. Cultures, we appreciate each other's cultures. And then component number 6 is digital literacy, a practical, important competency in today's world. How do we use technology to achieve all of these objectives? How do we use technology to enhance the quality of life? Can't just be technology for technology's sake. How do we apply that technology to making life better for our young people, making life better for the people of our country? And then finally, the 7th competency is sustainable human development. How do we understand and teach our students, our people, to understand and appreciate the critical importance of our environment, of sustainable development? Very important. So these 7 competencies, I listed them because they are reflected very much so in the Think Equal vision and the mandate of Think Equal, the Think Equal program. So we have a lot of work to do. I think we are off to a great start. And the Ministry of Education welcomes Think Equal to Belize. And we look forward to many years of successful partnership and collaboration for the benefit of our young Belizean students. I want to close by saying that, the passion and energy you have witnessed here today comes from when people understand and appreciate that they are having a positive impact on the lives of others. When you get up every morning and you recognize that the decisions you're making, the actions you're taking, are having an impact on the development of other people, on their opportunities for growth and development, then you're passionate about it. You love what you're doing. And you want every day to return to that place of commitment and work and contribution to the development of your country. So we have in Belize, of course, a lot of challenges. We see it on the evening news every evening. We know that we face difficulties with poverty. We have, obviously, a serious challenge with crime and violence in our urban communities in particular. And so that is a part of our work. I very early on in my term, this time around in government, I called the Minister of Home Affairs, who's responsible for, obviously, for security, and also the Minister of National Security. I called them to a meeting with me. And I said to them, you might not think that there's any connection between your work and education, because these were 2 new ministers in government. So, but it's very important from day one that we work together, to try to develop programs that will keep these young people out of trouble, keep these young people out of prison, keep them away from gangs. And so that, for me, is what this work is all about. It's about providing our young students at the very early stages of their lives, our young people, with an opportunity to lead positive, meaningful lives so that, 10, 20 years from now, perhaps if we all work together and we all stay focused, we can return to those days when we can leave a door open or a window open and live in a more positive, peaceful society. So it's a lot of work, but we are up to the task, and we're absolutely happy that Think Equal is here in Belize. So let's work together. Let's do it for the children of Belize. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your steadfast commitment and dedication to education in Belize and for partnering with Think Equal so as to ensure a more secure future for our students, especially those in their formative years. At this time, we once again welcome the Faber brothers as they bring us another violin medley. Let's give them a round of applause.
Before they play, I like to ask them to play the birthday song. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, my God.
They didn't practice it. I've never practiced it, but I believe they can do it.
You mashed it up.
As we draw this ceremony to a close at this time, we now invite the Deputy Chief Education Officer, Mrs. Cecilia Ramirez Smith, to bring us the closing remarks. Let's give her a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. CEO, I think they tricked both of us, closing and opening, and we have to make sure we find a way to start and to bring it to an end, right? So I'm going to do something similar to what you did, in that I'm going to do this a little bit less informal. So let me just start by saying that I want to, on the record, acknowledge the thoughtful vision and planning that has been done to bring us to this day by those members of the head table. Our captain of the team at the ministry, Honorable Francis Fonseca, CEO Mejia, the leader, the able leader at the team at UNICEF, Mrs. Parker, and of course, the very special Leslie that has joined our team. She's the newest member of this partnership, but has the way she's been this entire week, it's like she's been with us forever. She's been speaking more Creole than I have this entire week, and it's been an amazing experience walking with her, or traveling the country with her. I want to leave you with one word, one single word, that has become so pronounced for me, having gone through what we've gone through the last few months, making the preparations and getting our schools ready to introduce this program. The more I understand about what this program is designed to do, and the more I understand the potential impact that it can have on our country, the more confirmed I am in my perspective that this is the game changer. That's my word. It's been my word for this week. It's going to be my word for the new school year. It's going to be my word for beyond that. It's the game changer. When you think about the purpose of schooling, if I were to ask each of you that, of course your response would be varied. We have different perspectives on what we think things should do and shouldn't do. But I think underneath it all, you will say that schools are supposed to ensure that our children grow up to be productive and functional citizens, right? And when you consider what that really means, and what happens in any day in the life of a child, the first thing that comes to mind is the basics. Those of you that might say, well, it's back to the basics, the reading, writing, and arithmetic, from way back when. And fast forward today, even the core curriculum that we are currently implementing, as transformative as it is, there is still allocated time dedicating to developing numeracy skills and literacy skills and the 21st century skills, as we call them, because we know how important it is for children to learn all these things. But what we are now doing, so this is not an add-on, it's really just adding value to what we do with our children. Right? What we're really doing is moving beyond just nurturing and developing their emotion, their IQ. We're looking at developing their EQ, their emotional intelligence. And that is what will make things change. And as I've been going through this week, one of the things that I was reminded of, you know about recurring dreams, right? Some of you may have had them once or twice in your life. I have a recurring mental image. I've had it for at least 30 years. Every so often, I see myself about 85 years old. Yes, I will go that far. I'm a little bit shorter, thinner, I think. My eyes aren't working as well. But I see myself standing on the side of a street in Belize City. I have a cane, a walking stick with me, and I'm trying to cross the street. And there's steady traffic. And other pedestrians are crossing And somehow I can't seem to make it across. And I won't go into the emotions that I feel when I get to that point in the image, right? But I will tell you, when I shake it off, it always brings me back to what keeps me grounded professionally, what keeps me focused. Because if it is that the children of today, the children that are in our schools right now, will be the adults when I'm 85, then it means that what we are doing in our schools today must be fundamentally sound, so that I don't end up and can't cross the street. And you know, that image isn't the worst it can be, right? I'm sure it could be worse. But we don't want to go there. We want to make sure that our children are well-rounded, so they grow up to be the productive, functional citizens that we say we want them to be. All right? And this is what I see this program doing. And this is why I believe it's the game changer. And so I want to offer a warm embrace on behalf of my boss, Miss Yolanda Gongora, our chief. She's here. She's a dedicated lady. She's under the weather, but she's here, and she said, just go and share. And so I want to offer a warm embrace on behalf of her to Leslie. Can you come forward, please? It's her birthday, so we're going to try and do something special for her.
Shall I go?
Yes, please.
Wow. Ready, Hopper.
CEO and Miss Alison, can you come, please? On either side. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Mwah. Thank you to your member.
Thank you, Deputy Chief, for that warm closing remarks, and we are aptly certain and very confident that with the Think Equal program, you'll have no difficulties crossing the street. At this time, we have arrived at the end of our program, and I'd just like to remind you that leave a reminder to each of you present here today that we have a gargantuan task ahead of us. And while we have launched the program today, the work has just really begun, and it is up to us to go out into the world, right, Chief? And hold hands and make the world a better place. Stick together and make the world a better place, and ensure that we really act in good earnest to ensure the development of our children. And so as we close, I'd just like to leave you with the Irish blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain fall soft on your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Have a good afternoon.
Beautiful.